What's up YouTube, how goes it? Today I'm fulfilling your deepest desire. I'm joking, at least from my end anyway. A comparison between Acer Aspire 5 and Lenovo's IdeaPad 3. Both these machines are ultra popular across the globe and they have record-breaking sales in the mid-range laptop category. And of course, that makes the perfect occasion to make a video and do a high-level comparison between these two machines. To keep it as fair as possible, I'm reviewing the latest iteration of both machines, and they're both rocking the latest 11th generation Core i5 processor, 8GB of DDR4 RAM, a 512GB SSD, the latest Intel Iris Xe graphics, latest Wi-Fi and Bluetooth standards, and they both are 15-inch laptops with a full HD display. Keep in mind, this is a high-level comparison, meaning I'm taking some of their best features and not so great features and comparing them to see where one machine has it over the other, where one might excel or not be so good, or if any of these machines might be the right one for you. As always, if you want a detailed review of either machine, I've already done that. You can find that in the video description below. I'll leave a link for both machines, so feel free to check that out. If you enjoy the content, hit the like button. Seriously consider subscribing to our channel. We've got awesome content. We're always growing and we're happy to have you watch it. Let's get started. Let's start off with design first. So in the case of the Acer Aspire 5, you have a nice mix of premium and standard materials. So the top side, for example, is made entirely of a metallic finish, which looks really nice and feels nice. Granted, the rest of the machine is mostly made of hard TPU, but it's a very well solid built laptop in that regard. It does have a relatively heavy weight of 4 pounds, making it the heavier of the two machines here. On the other side, we have the Lenovo IdeaPad 3, which I'll be honest doesn't feel nearly as premium as the Aspire 5, so you have a hard TPU built from top to finish, inside included. However, you do have a lighter weight of approximately 3.6 pounds, and again, this is because of the differential in the two materials used between the devices. Overall, though, I have to say the Aspire 5 is definitely the more lucrative looking device in both feel and looks. Let's talk about the trackpad and keyboard. You're going to find in the case of the Acer Aspire 5, the trackpad quality is decent. So while you do have a plastic finish, you'll find there's limited imbalance when you click on either side. The calibration is for the most part on point, and overall it's a pretty tactile click and a decent quality trackpad. Now the keyboard on the Acer Aspire 5 is okay. I wouldn't call it great though. So you have a generous amount of key travel and the keys don't feel cheap, finicky or loose, which is a good thing. Also, you do have a fully backlit keyboard. However, you'll notice that the 10 key pad is exceptionally small and it just feels like an afterthought. It's also worth noting that this machine does have a fingerprint scanner which is located directly above the trackpad itself. The IdeaPad 3 in comparison has a slightly larger trackpad which gives you more surf real estate. However, it's also a plastic finish. There is a decent amount of click imbalance, which is a bit of a shame, but it's not so bad that it feels like a cheap or finicky experience. Overall, it's well calibrated, so you'll have an okay experience. The keyboard is where the IdeaPad 3 really shines in general. Lenovo makes fantastic keyboards, and this is no exception. You have a generous amount of key travel. Every keystroke feels nice and tactile, and the keys themselves, or the keycaps per se, are very sturdy and they don't feel cheap or finicky in the slightest. Also, you have a wholesome and large 10 key pad which was genuinely made with productivity in mind. It's also worth noting the power button integrates as a fingerprint scanner as well on this machine. Overall, I think the IdeaPad 3 has a ever so slightly better trackpad and a considerably better keyboard. One area where Lenovo dropped the ball hard is the hinge quality. There is a fair bit of wobble, and I don't think this hinge is going to last very long if you are an abusive user or if you open it harshly too often in the long term. The Aspire 5's hinge, while not fantastic, is pretty good overall. It seems more durable, it doesn't wobble as much, and it's definitely more sturdy in terms of long-term wear and tear. If you grew up in an Asian household like me, you know the only thing more disappointing than one disappointing child is two disappointing children. Well, unfortunately, both these laptops are equally disappointing in the display section. So what I mean is you start off with a modest resolution of 1080p or Full HD with a 60Hz refresh rate with both machines. However, both of them also have a sRGB rating of 51%, which is honestly horrendous. Colors look washed out, there's no vividness, there's no sharpness, and there's a lot of gray tone going on. These are not good displays if you are a creative user who does a lot of photo editing or video editing, for example, or any sort of graphical activity that requires color accuracy. However, Take it as you will, they have a peak brightness of 300 nits. This isn't fantastic, but it's not bad either. It's sufficient for most indoor settings, but if you plan to use this outdoors, you may find that the brightness falls short and it may be an unpleasurable experience to use the screen outdoors. One of the most radical differences between these two devices is actually their performance, which is ironic because both the Aspire 5 and the IdeaPad 3 are rocking similar specification with the latest Tiger Lake i5 chip alongside 8GB of RAM and Intel Iris Xe graphics. So in the case of the Aspire 5, day-to-day tasks like watching videos, web browsing, or typing up a Word document are super fast as you expected. But start pushing this laptop to its limits by, let's say, doing something like 4K video editing or gaming, and you start noticing a fair bit of frame drops regularly. If you're gaming, there's constant frame spikes and drops, and 4K video editing, if you add too many layers, even a few layers, there's even lag and the occasional freezing aside from frame drops. In contrast to this, the IdeaPad 3 does day-to-day tasks just as well, but it also handles more resource-intensive tasks considerably better. So if you're doing 4K video editing, it's actually a viable experience. You do get frame drops, but it still handles it a lot better. And gaming is considerably better as well. You get higher frame rates on average no matter which game you compare between these two devices. The key reason for this is thermal management. The Acer Aspire 5 can hit a peak temperature of 90 degrees Celsius on the CPU, and the IdeaPad 3 can hit a peak temperature of 86 degrees Celsius on the CPU. While the difference itself isn't that great, it's about how often they hit the peak temperature. The Aspire 5 comes close to this temperature all the time. Again, this is mostly due to poor thermal management. In terms of battery life, the IdeaPad 3 falls short in this category. So at 50% brightness with moderately intensive tasks, you'll get about 7.5 to 8 hours on a single charge. The Aspire 5, despite its rather hot head, literally actually has considerably better battery life. I was able to get up to 9.5 hours on a single charge, doing similar activities that I did on the IdeaPad 3 at 50% brightness. I'm not quite sure what causes this difference, but in my real world test, this happened on multiple occasions, so I can definitely confirm that. It's also worth noting, both these laptops do have stereo speaker setups. In the case of the Aspire 5, it's slightly louder, but the IdeaPad 3 sounds slightly more clear. So what's the verdict here? Well, one key element to determine which of these laptops may be better for you is actually pricing. Despite similar configurations, they are very differently priced. The Acer Aspire 5 in this exact configuration actually goes for approximately $699 USD. In contrast to this, the IdeaPad 3 is a full $100 more at $799 USD. And it is worth noting, in some regions you actually get a 1 terabyte hard drive along with the SSD on the IdeaPad 3, so you do get more storage, but overall the Acer Aspire 5 is actually a better deal and goes on sale more often in terms of sheer pricing. Now, the pros and cons again will vary depending on what you saw. It's worth noting the Aspire 5 has better build quality, whereas to the IdeaPad 3 has a better trackpad, keyboard, as well as superior performance. Depends what's more important for you. Also, there are other factors that I did not cover since this is a high-level comparison, such as I/O port diversity and more heat metrics. Watch the review for either laptop if you want a more detailed breakdown to see which one will be right for you. But overall, both these machines stand out in their own unique ways. Neither of them is a particularly bad machine, but they both have certain flaws that might make them not viable for you as the end user. As always, if you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button, consider subscribing to my channel. It genuinely helps me grow. Thank you so much for watching. Catch you in the next one. See ya.